In our last video, we talked about how to deal with nipping and biting issues outdoors when you're playing in the yard or you're in an off-leash area with your dog. Today, we're diving into this topic once again to talk about how to deal with nipping and arousal issues while walking your dog on a leash.
Now, what about when your dog is nipping and biting at you while you're walking him on the leash? When I first brought Remy home, just about every single walk we went on would have a moment where, seemingly out of nowhere, Remy would start grabbing at my sleeves, biting at the leash, and jumping all over me while growling hysterically. It was really scary at the time. And while I now recognize it for what it was, an intense reaction to a severe state of overarousal, at the time it was utterly terrifying and I felt like I was being attacked by my own dog. In this kind of situation, you have a few options, but none of them are really great. One is to push your arm up at a 90-degree angle and tighten the leash so that you're basically stringing your dog up. You don't want to choke your dog out, of course, but at this angle, the dog can't get close enough to you to physically grab you. You can also step on the leash and lock it to the ground a foot or two from your dog. This will stop your dog from being able to launch himself at your body and head. Another option is to place the leash over a tree branch and string your dog up that way. Obviously, a lot of these options are pretty terrible. They're really last resorts when you have no other options and you're concerned about your safety. For me, what I ended up doing a lot was actually winding up the leash and bringing Remy closer to me and then grabbing his collar or harness when he was close enough and just holding on to him to stop him from moving. For him, the lunging was what really amped him up. He would jump and lunge and just launch himself at me over and over again like a yo-yo. But as soon as I grabbed a hold of him and stopped the movement, he calmed down pretty quickly. The reason why he was able to calm down is because he was never trying to hurt or attack me. He was just struggling with a huge amount of overarousal and overstimulation and didn't really know how to deal with that energy and those feelings physically. So he was redirecting them onto me. A walk seemed like such a small thing for me. One of those things that you have to do with your dog to help tire them out and keep them feeling good. But for Remy, walks were actually exacerbating a lot of his stress. For Remy, walks were a huge deal and insanely overstimulating. Real quickly, guys, if you're finding this video helpful, do please make sure to just pop down below the video and give us a like. It's really helpful for the channel, so thank you. Okay, but let's go back to what to do if you have a dog that's nipping and biting at you while you're trying to walk them outside on a leash. I'd try reeling the dog in like a big old fish and grabbing him first. If that doesn't work, stepping on the leash or holding your arm out straight at a 90-degree angle is your next best bet. But you really need to be focusing most of your efforts at the stage before this. Because here's the thing, even when it feels like these biting, nipping attacks happen out of nowhere, they don't. There are always going to be subtle indicators that your dog is hitting their threshold, aka their breaking point. For Remy, I realized that before he would launch himself into a nipping, growling crazy fit, he would roll around in the grass.
Without fail, this was the antecedent to his nipping and biting behavior on walks.
Now, he didn't always roll in the grass and start biting me right after, but just about every time he did start biting me, he would roll in the grass first. I even pinpointed the exact moment when it would happen. He would roll in the grass, flip himself over, and just lie there panting for a second, and then right after is when he would launch at me. So I started to hone in on that moment where he has flipped over after his roll and is lying down. And I would do a treat toss into the grass nearby. Or I might ask for a hand target. Anything to break the behavior chain. Over and over again I did this, and as long as I timed it right and didn't wait too long, it worked every time. You need to be able to detect the predictors of when your dog is about to have an outburst, and interrupt them with low stimulation, calming behaviors. The goal for these kinds of dogs is always going to be de-escalation. So you don't want to start yelling no or tensing up or amping up the intensity of the situation. Try doing a treat scatter, then asking your dog for a cue they know really well already, like a hand target, something really easy, and reward them for that. You also want to start rewarding your dog for behaviors you do want to see on walks. This is the bread and butter of loose leash walking training. Check out our video on that to learn more, but it can be great in situations like this too. Reward and reinforce your dog for engaging with behavior that's going to lower their arousal levels, like sniffing or a good shake-off. Shake-offs aren't just for getting dry after a swim. They're a way for dogs to reset their nervous system, just like a child might jump up and down and shake their whole body. It's really great for them to do in high-stress situations in order to relax and calm down a bit. So when you see your dog do a shake-off, make sure to reward them for it. You always want to reinforce any behaviors that are going to help your dog calm down and lower their arousal levels. And shake-offs are huge for that. Getting your dog into the habit of checking in with you is also really valuable. Look at me. me cue is super helpful for helping your dog refocus and stay present with you. So always be reinforcing your dog for eye contact and check-ins. Eventually, it will become second nature for them to look to you when they're starting to get amped up, and you can help them then cool off. Today, Remy still rolls in the grass a lot during our walks. It's one of his favorite things to do. I don't need to do a treat scatter or anything like that after he rolls, because it's not an issue for us anymore and hasn't been for many, many years. But every now and then, I'll see him jump up from lying down post-roll with that same kind of crazed energy. But instead of attacking me, he just shakes it off, resets his nervous system, and we continue on our walk. He really has come so far, and I'm so proud of him. If I had known what I know now about body language and stress, I would have realized earlier that walks were really, really hard on Remy, and I would have treated them differently. Looking at old footage, I see how his head is constantly darting around and how he freezes every few steps. At the time, I thought he was just being stubborn, but now I know how much my poor guy was struggling and doing his best just to get through the day. I was actually making things a lot harder on Remy because I thought I just needed to tire him out more for him to behave better. I kept making our walks longer and longer. It just became increasingly more overwhelming and overstimulating for him. If you have a dog struggling with outdoor arousal like this, I would suggest keeping walks super short, just 10 to 15 minutes. And then just do several short walks a day instead of one really long one. And for some dogs, focusing on mental enrichment and just nixing the walks altogether is going to be the best option. Eliminating walks entirely is somewhat controversial, but for ultra-sensitive, easily overstimulated, reactive dogs, it really might be the best option. At least temporarily while you're working on addressing some other underlying issues. But if you're going to do away with walks, you have to quadruple your mental enrichment. This means preparing at least 7 to 8 puzzles for your dog to do each day. And if you need ideas for that, we do have this awesome enrichment course I would definitely suggest checking out. You can even get 20% off right now. If you're struggling with a dog who bites and nips at you on walks, I can totally sympathize. All this can feel so overwhelming and stressful, and my heart really goes out to you. Just know if you're dealing with this, your dog isn't trying to be a huge jerk. They're actually really struggling too. Don't be afraid to think outside the box and experiment with different solutions for helping your dog keep his arousal low. Not everything you try will work, but with enough experimenting, you'll find a system that works for both you and your dog. Thanks for watching. I really hope this video helped you. Please take a moment to like this video and leave a comment. I would really love to hear your experience with your own dog. I always love hearing from you guys, what you're struggling with, what you're dealing with, what you've been successful with, and what you want to know more about. And I know your comments help other viewers too. It can feel so lonely and isolating going through issues like this with your dog, and it means so much to see people in the comments expressing similar struggles. So if you have a minute, leave a comment. And again, thank you so much for sharing your stories. All right, until next time, bye.